Have you ever stopped to think about the state? I mean, it's this massive thing that's all around us. It makes the laws we follow, it takes our taxes, it defines the very borders we live inside. But what is it really? Well, let's figure that out.
Seriously, it sounds like a simple question, right? You live in a state. You're a citizen of one. But if someone asked you to define it, right here, right now, where would you even start? It's trickier than it looks, and that's exactly what we're going to unpack. Okay, first things first. Before we get into all the wild debates and origin stories, we need a solid starting point. Let's just get the simple, textbook definition on the table. What does everyone agree on?
And there you have it. Pretty straightforward. It's a political group that has the final say, that's what sovereignty means, over a specific chunk of land and the people living on it. Now, this definition isn't just random. It's actually built on 4 key ingredients that political scientists say a state absolutely has to have.
Think of it like a recipe. You can't bake the cake without all 4. First, you need a population. That's the people. Then, you need a clear territory, a place with borders. After that, you need a government, the actual organization calling the shots and making the rules. And finally, the secret ingredient, sovereignty. That's the ultimate power to be the boss in your own house with no higher authority telling you what to do.
All right, so now we know what a state is, which, of course, leads to the next huge question. Where did this thing even come from? I mean, did someone just invent it one day? Did it just happen? This is where we get into some really cool theories about the state's origins.
And what's so fascinating is watching how the answer to that question changed over time. For ages, the go-to explanation was the divine origin theory. Basically, God created the state and chose the rulers. Simple enough. Then, during the Enlightenment, a radical new idea popped up. The social contract. The idea that people created the state by making a deal. And that leads us to where most thinkers are today, the evolutionary theory.
So, the modern consensus isn't that the state was created in a single moment at all. Instead, it just grew. It evolved naturally over thousands of years. It started with the basic family unit, which grew into clans, which then grouped together into tribes, and eventually, slowly but surely, that morphed into the complex state we recognize today.
But hold on, let's back up for a minute, because that Enlightenment idea, the social contract, is way too important to just gloss over. It's one of the most powerful thought experiments ever, and it literally shaped the world we live in.
Just imagine it for a second. What if we could hit the reset button on society? You and everyone else are in what philosophers called a state of nature. No rules, no laws, nobody in charge. To get out of that chaos, you have to agree to a contract, like a giant terms of service for society. What would you agree to? What freedoms would you give up to gain security? 3 brilliant thinkers had 3 very different answers.
First up is Thomas Hobbes. He thought life without rules would be a nightmare, a constant war of all against all. So his deal was simple. Give up all your freedom to one all-powerful ruler, a Leviathan, who in return keeps you from killing each other. Then you have John Locke. He was a bit more optimistic. He said the state of nature is mostly fine, just inconvenient. His contract? Create a limited government with one job and one job only. Protect our natural rights to life, liberty, and property. Finally, you've got Rousseau. He argued people are naturally good, and it's society that messes us up. His solution was for everyone to agree to submit to the general will of the people, creating a government where the people themselves are sovereign.
Okay, so we've got a definition, we've got origin stories, but we're still not done. Not by a long shot. Because even if we agree on all that, there's a huge, ongoing fight about the state's true nature. Is it a neutral referee here to help us all, or is it something else entirely?
This right here is probably the most influential definition in sociology, from Max Weber. And for him, it all boils down to one thing: violence. The state is unique because it's the only one that gets to use physical force. You know, police, military, legitimately. It has, as he famously put it, a monopoly on the legitimate use of force. But now, compare Weber's idea to this bombshell from Vladimir Lenin. He looked at the state and saw something totally different. For Lenin and other Marxists, the state isn't some neutral umpire. No way. It's a tool, a weapon, born out of the conflict between the rich and the poor, and its main job is to protect the power of the ruling class.
And these 2 quotes really show you the massive divide. When you boil it all down, the debate really comes down to these 3 camps. You've got the idealists, who see the state as an ethical authority trying to make life better for everyone. You've got the realists, like Weber, who see it as a raw institution of power. And then you have the Marxists, who see it as an instrument for one class to control another. Who's right? Well, that's the debate.
And believe me, this debate is not some dusty old argument from the history books. It is alive and well today, and the theories about what the state is have only gotten more complicated and more interesting.
So now you have all these other challenges to the old ideas. Pluralists, for example, say, hey, the state isn't the only game in town. It's just one powerful player competing with huge corporations, unions, and other groups. Elitists push back and say, nice idea, but let's be real. A small handful of wealthy elites are always pulling the strings behind the scenes. Then you have feminist critiques which argue the state was fundamentally built on patriarchal ideas to maintain gender inequality. And postmodernists come along and kind of blow the whole thing up, saying the state isn't even one single thing. It's just a complex and ever-changing web of power that runs through everything.
So what is the state? Is it our protector, a ruler, an instrument of power? As you've seen, there are incredibly powerful arguments on all sides. This debate is still raging. And you know what? It really, really matters. Because at the end of the day, what you believe the state is completely shapes what you expect from it, what you demand of it, and the kind of world you want to build.